Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be showing you how to make this open back halter neck top with flared shorts. I first created this outfit in black and I shared it as a short, and so many of you requested for a full tutorial. So in this video I'll be recreating the look step by step. Let's get right into it. So first off, I'll be drafting my basic bodies, starting with my neckline. I'll be using a 3x3 inches neckline, and then I'm going to proceed to my shoulders. My shoulder is 16 inches. I'm going to divide that by 2. I have about 8 inches. Next, I'm going to come down by 1 inch to create my shoulder slope. And then I'm going to proceed to mark out my vertical measurement. So I'm going to put down my bust line, my chest line, my waistline, and the full length of my top. Now the full length of this top is 24.5 inches. You can use your preferred length. And after doing all of this, I'm going to connect all my points with a straight line. So next, I'm going to put down my round measurements, starting off with my round hip. I have a round hip of 44 inches. That divided by 4 is 11 inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing on my waistline, my bust line, and my chest line as well. So I'm going to extend the hip measurement by 2 inches to give these bodies a flare or an A-line effect. You can decide to make yours fuller, but 2 inches is okay by me. So I'm going to connect this with a straight line. Next, I'm going to come down from my chest line by ½ an inch, and I'm going to create my armhole. This is a halter neck top, so I'll be connecting my armhole to my neckline. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get my dart point. So I'm going to be dividing my nipple to nipple measurement into 2. I have 4 inches, and I'm going to put that 4 inches on my waistline, my hemline, and my bust line, and I'm going to connect these points with a straight line. So after doing that, I'll just take out my dart. So I'll be using a 1 inch dart for this top, and I'm going to take out ½ inch on both sides. I'll do the same thing on my hemline, and then I'll connect my dart. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take out my bust dart. I'll be using a 1 inch bust dart for this top, and I'm going to connect it to my dart point. So the next thing I did was to go up by 1 inch from the hemline, and then I connected with a curve to my dart point, and then I cut out my front piece. So the next thing I'm going to do is to slash open my dart, and I'm going to close my bust dart. So the next thing I did was to get a fresh pattern paper, and then I spread the slash at the dart area, and then I pinned it to the fresh pattern paper, and then I cut out the piece. After tracing and cutting out the front piece, I now have 2 identical front pieces. Now I'll use my paper tape to tape them side by side along the side seam area. I'll be using the other plain pattern piece to draft out my back piece. Next, I'll fold the papers together and mark out the waistline. This is just to determine exactly where the waistline falls on the fresh paper. From the hemline, I'll go in by 4 inches. And then on the waistline, I'm going to go in by 3 inches. And then I'll connect the points with a straight line. So from my waistline, I'll come up again by 2.5 inches. This is because I don't want the back too opened. Then I'll slightly connect this line towards the armhole, making sure the curve is smooth and well blended. And then I'll cut it out. So now our pattern is ready. This is the fabric I'll be using for this 2-piece. I have it in 6 yards here, but I'll be using only 2 yards for this outfit. So now I've transferred my pattern to my fabric, and on the bottom I added about 1 inch seam allowance, and on the armhole area I added 1/2 inch, and on the neckline I added about 1/2 inch seam allowance. So next I'll go ahead and hem both sides of the center back with 1/2 inch, and I'll hem the bottom as well with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Next, I'm going to hem both armholes using a bias tape. I'll cut out my bias from the same fabric, which is about 45 inches long, and then I'll use it to neatly finish the armholes. So I've neatly finished the armholes, and I have an excess left that will be for the tying at the back. Next, I'll neatly finish the neckline with a bias tape cut from the same fabric, measuring about 45 inches long. I'll start by finding out the midpoint of the bias tape and the midpoint of the neckline. Then I'll align both midpoints together, pin the bias around the neckline, and stitch it in place. Now the excess bias left will be used as the ties for the neck. So this is what it looks like. Now we're done with the top. We're going to move on to the shorts. So for the shorts, I already drafted the pattern in my previous video. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll leave the link in the description box and also pin it in the comments so you can go check it out. Moving on, I'll simply piece the pattern together. Initially, I split the pattern into 2 because the previous tutorial included pleats. But for this design, I don't want pleats. I just want a flared pants. So I'll tape the pattern pieces together and transfer it onto my fabric. I have transferred my pattern onto the fabric, and now I have both the front and the back pieces. I also cut out a waistband. Your waistband should match your waist size. My waist is 31 inches, but I added 2 extra inches because of the zipper allowance. So I have a total of 33 inches for my waistband. And I also cut out my pocket pieces. I have 4 in total. I am going to unpin my pieces and stitch the center front with 1/2 inch. I'm also going to do the same thing for the back piece, but I'm going to stop at the zipper allowance area. So I've stitched my pieces and I also overlocked them. You can use an overlock machine for a clean finish. Next, I'll open up the pieces and attach the pockets. From the side seam, I'll measure 1 inch down, pin the pockets in place, and stitch it on the sewing machine. I'll also repeat this same process for the back piece. The next thing I'm going to do is to place both the front and the back piece right sides facing, and then I'll join the side seams. Once that's done, I'll join the crotch with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Next, I'm going to fix my band and my zipper. Now remember I said your band should be your waist measurement plus your seam allowance for your zipper. So I've fixed my zipper and my band. The next thing I'm going to do is to hem the bottom of my shorts. I'm going to do that with 1 inch seam allowance. And that's it for this tutorial. You can see how simple and beautiful this halter neck two-piece set is. I hope you enjoyed watching and found it easy to follow. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who would love this style. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.